The Chicago Bears aren't going to get 4 turnovers in every game, but a lot of the big plays they're making in Dennis Allen's defense are absolutely sustainable from week to week.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. You can follow me on Twitter at CoxSports1, and you can follow the podcast at Locked On Bears on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the Locked On Bears YouTube channel, where you can keep up with all of our video podcasts as well. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. On the show today, I want to break down every turnover this Chicago Bears defense has forced this season to try and get a sense of how much of this is individual players making great plays on defense versus being kind of lucky and just happen to have the ball fall into your hands without having to try very much, or how much of it is about the quarterbacks they've faced and everything in between. We'll go through all the different interceptions, and we'll talk about the forced fumbles as well, although I think those are a little bit more narrowly focused here. But I think we've seen a wide range of different types of interceptions the Bears have generated, and we can look at those to try and figure out, is this something that they actually have much control over, or are they kind of just at the whim of what the opposing offense does, and then all you control is whether you hold on to the ball when it actually hits you in the hands? I think the truth is generally going to be somewhere in the middle there. But as we look over the course of this season, as we know now, the Bears, I believe, lead the NFL in turnovers being forced right now. They had 1 interception against the Vikings, and then 3 against the Cowboys, 3 against the Raiders, 1 against the Commanders, and then 3 more against the New Orleans Saints, plus 4 forced fumbles this season, 1 each against the Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, and Saints. It's a lot of turnovers. And we know that, statistically speaking, that they've crunched the numbers on this, that game over game and year over year, you don't see a lot of sustainability from turnovers. The team that is number 1 and top 5 in turnovers, it's hard to stay that way for a long time. You can definitely do it for stretches, but generally turnover is something that has a lot of variation from especially season to season, but even just game to game. It's very hard to predict. And just because you've had a lot of turnovers doesn't mean you're going to keep having a lot of turnovers. And just because you aren't having very many turnovers doesn't mean you're all of a sudden never going to be able to get turnovers either. There is definitely a combination here of luck and skill. And no one's really been able to parse out exactly where the line is there. But I do want to start to diagnose that a little bit with this Bears defense so far this season. For example, first interception of the season against the Minnesota Vikings, it's a pick 6 by Nahshon Wright down that, offense's left, defense's right sideline. That's a play where you look back and watch it. The Bears are in a cover 0 blitz, just man coverage, and everybody else is blitzing. It's Wright versus Justin Jefferson. He's running the receiver's running an out route to that left offensive sideline. McCarthy drops back, stares him down. Wright reads it the whole way, jumps it, and he goes for an interception. Also thrown a little bit behind Justin Jefferson, right? Not enough juice on it. And that's a play where I don't think it fits neatly into a category, right? Because on the one hand, it was not a good throw from J.J. McCarthy, not even a great decision from McCarthy insofar as staring down the receiver and then not putting the ball where it needs to be. I think a better quarterback or a more accurate quarterback or a smarter quarterback either completes that ball or certainly has an incompletion there that's not an interception. Part of what made that an interception and a pick 6 for Nahshon Wright is that the quarterback threw the ball poorly enough to put it into harm's way. And there's nothing Nahshon Wright can do about that. But Nahshon Wright absolutely has to see that route the whole way, attack that route, know that you're in cover 0, so the blitz is coming, so the quarterback's going to have to get rid of it quickly. So as soon as you see Justin Jefferson break on the outside, and on that specific play, he's got a tighter split towards the line, towards the offensive line, so he has more room to break out. So he sees him break out, he jumps on it, he goes with him, right? So part of this is Wright has to see it, attack it, and know to be right place, right time. But then also McCarthy has to throw the ball there inaccurately and give him a pass that is interceptable. And you can see where on that specific play, it's not evenly just like, oh, that was just lucky. He just happened to, a ball just landed. It's also not equally, oh, wow, that's just a defender making a great play. Like, it's kind of both, and it falls somewhere in this kind of gray area of like, is that a sustainable interception? Like, is that something they can recreate? Maybe not pick six, but I think Nahshon Wright being able to know the play call, know the situation, know the tendencies, and be in the right place is absolutely a skill. But it's only an interception if McCarthy meets him the other halfway there, right? I think that's sort of like a 50-50 kind of thing where it's like some defensive like skill that is repeatable and some you need a quarterback to make a mistake that you can't always count on as a defense. And that's kind of the spectrum I want to think about the rest of these interceptions that the Bears forced this season. Because like the forced fumbles, we can talk about them briefly here, I guess. Like a lot of that is like, defensive player popping a ball out or ripping a ball. 4 forced fumbles this season was against the Cowboys when Tyreek Stevenson chased down Javonte Williams and ripped it out of his hands. There was one against the Raiders when Andrew Billings is in the backfield and blows up Ashton Genty, and Noah Sewell comes in and pops the ball out, and it's a forced fumble. Then you've got a similar thing against the Commanders with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, where he's met in the backfield and starts to spin out of it, and Montez Sweat pops the ball out there. And then the fourth one was a strip sack on Spencer Rattler against the Saints when Montez Sweat got in the backfield, though. Like those to me feel like strong individual defensive plays where it's not like the running back's just handing it to you. It's not a layup. It's not like he drops the wet football and you fall on it and that's your turnover. Like those are defensive player steps up and makes a great individual defensive play, and you feel like, okay, you can continue to make those in the future. You can't count on a forced fumble happening every week, but like none of those forced fumbles were because the offensive player gifted it to you by making some individual mistake. All 4 of those forced fumbles were defensive player makes a big play, and it was 3 different defensive players. And maybe you can't count on, well, Noah Sewell's got hurt, but like you can't count on Sewell getting a forced fumble every week or Stevenson ripping the ball out every week. But like Montez Sweat might get you another forced fumble at some point this season, and other guys certainly are looking to punch the ball out. It's worth noting on 3 of those, between Stevenson's, Sewell's, and Sweat's running plays, it's not the first guy there who just hits him hard and pops the ball out, but it's like first guy is already tackling him, second guy gets the ball out. So they're being coached to go after this and to try and get this, not just by delivering the big hits, but like, hey, if you know your teammates got it, like first guy goes for the legs, second guy goes for the ball type of situation. So it feels like they're being coached to try and generate more of these types of plays. So it feels like that can be more sustainable in the forced fumble department. Montez Sweat is coached to, when you're coming around the corner on the quarterbacks, when the quarterback's not looking, like get your hand up, hit the ball. That I think they can keep doing. The interceptions are a little bit more dependent on the quarterback sometimes. And I don't want to go through each of the other interceptions that we haven't talked about yet and kind of categorize them. Like how much of this is just you got lucky because you got gifted one from the opposing quarterback, and how much of it is, wow, that defensive player made a great individual defensive play and really truly forced that turnover. That's next on Locked On Bears. The Locked On Bears podcast is brought to you by Gametime. The NFL season is back, and there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues and login screens and prices jumping up when you get to the checkout, it's a really frustrating process. And that's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. I've got the Gametime app, and I use it to go to Bears games, use it to go to baseball games this season, concerts, comedy shows, theater events. I'm going to see the Book of Mormon coming up here in a little bit, and I got my tickets on the Gametime app, where you always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. So these Bears interceptions have happened in quite a variety of scenarios and situations. I think there have been a couple of repeats that are like a couple of pairs of turnovers, like, okay, those two were kind of similar, and there's another couple that were kind of similar, but across all 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 of them, I believe is the number I've got here, you get quite a wide variety, and I think that's also individually a good sign. We'll talk about that a little bit more here, but let's run through these quickly here, because I think a great example on the opposite side of the spectrum is the second interception of the season. We talked about the Vikings one, the pick six from Deshaun Wright. The very next interception, you remember the first pick against the Dallas Cowboys? Dak Prescott drops back, and he throws a curl route. Curl route, I think, was intended for George Pickens. It hits George Pickens in the hands about 10 yards downfield. It's a very basic curl concept passing play. Hits Pickens in the hands, it pops up, Tremaine Edmonds runs over, dives, and gets under it, and makes the diving interception. And like, on the one hand, it's a great catch by Tremaine Edmonds to dive under and make that play, but 99 times out of 100, that pass that hits George Pickens' hands is either caught or falls safely to the ground, not hits the hands, pops up, and Edmonds makes a diving play. Like that specific interception, very basic curl route pattern. Like all three of the receivers that were on the line of scrimmage ran curls. Running back and the tight end ran flats, just curl flats, standard play from your Madden playbook. Quarterback 3-step drop. I think he rolls a little bit to his right, steps, throws, hits his receiver in the hands. That play should not have been an interception. Like that's one of those plays that is, it feels like it takes something away from Edmonds when I say it's purely luck. But it should have never been interceptable. It is lucky that it was ever even possibly interceptable. And that's not something that you can, like the defense had no control. The only control the defense had there was whether Edmonds holds onto the ball or not when it gets to his hands. But the defense did nothing to put that ball in harm's way. It was entirely dropped by the receiver. It was otherwise an accurate throw and right where it needed to be in an easy play for the offense that just was messed up. Like that's what I think of as like a lucky interception that the Bears were lucky to have and lucky to get away with. And like, you're not just going to be able to recreate those with playmaking later on in the season. Like that's kind of the other side of the spectrum I want to talk about here. The other two interceptions in the Cowboys game, you've got the other Edmonds interception. They're in the red zone. Dak Prescott dropping back. He's got Jalen Tolbert is working on a shallow crossing route. Edmonds is following on man coverage. Prescott underthrows it. Edmonds steps on front of it, underneath it, snags it, makes the interception. Like that's one of those, like, it's more like the first one with McCarthy, where it's like quarterback makes a bad throw, but defender still has to be in the right position to make that catch. Like that's playmaking, taking advantage of a bad throw. Like it's a kind of one of those 50-50 type of situations there where it's not an interception if Dak Prescott throws a better ball. But even on that bad ball, it's only an interception if Edmonds reads it, attacks it, and makes a play on it to get the interception there. Whereas the last interception against the Cowboys in the back of the end zone, where once Joe Milton was in the game, it's a little bit garbage time, tries to hit Turpin. It's like, I think it's a kind of a go route that Turpin like stops short. Ball comes right to Kevin Byard. Like Byard, I think, had to make a slight break on it, but like that's a pretty gift-wrapped end zone interception. All you got to do is catch it because it hits you right in the hands. Not because you made some great read on the play or because you made some huge break on the ball and read it the whole way. It was just like, no, quarterback gift wrapped one for you and you just had to catch it. Like that's another one of these kind of feels more like a lucky interception that you're just not going to be able to count on happening every week. So then like you go through the rest of these interceptions. Like Kevin Byard gets a lucky one against the Cowboys, but then against the Raiders, he makes two brilliant plays over the middle of the field where he jumps a route. He sees it the whole way. Geno Smith doesn't, and it's a great interception. You know, I think I forgot what order they came in, but one of them in particular, they were all trying to target Jacoby Myers, which is funny. All three of the Raiders interceptions, but like they've got this little stack formation to the right side, and you've got it's sort of like a dagger concept where I think it's Trey Tucker is running a vertical route, and then Jacoby Myers cuts underneath it, and as soon as Jacoby Myers starts making his in cut, Byard reads it the whole way and attacks downfield and absolutely takes that ball away. Like this to me is not one of those where it's like some horrendous inaccurate throw from Geno Smith. Like he probably led Kevin Byard there with his eyes, but like this is the other end of that spectrum of like, this is almost all Byard making a great play. Like this is playmaker sees something and goes above and beyond to pick it off, as opposed to like, what a bad, horrible decision or horrible read by the quarterback. Same thing was true with Kevin Byard's other interception. It was more like a post route instead of an in-breaking route, but the same kind of thing. Saw it the whole way, came down and attacked, a little bit of a coverage disguise that he's able to kind of be more of the robber there and step in front of it and make that play. And sure, maybe some of it is Geno deciding to throw the ball there, but that to me is much more like individual defensive player makes great freelancing interception there. Then you get the last one was when Geno threw a deep crossing route to Jacoby Myers, was a little bit behind, and Stevenson stepped in front of it and picked it off. That's a little bit more like what we talked about with Tremaine Edmonds earlier. And they've had a couple of interceptions like that too. Spencer Rattler's first interception for the Saints this last week, that Nashawn Wright intercepted. That's one where, he steps in front of a pass that's just otherwise underthrown. This one was a deep crossing route from Rattler trying to throw to Tipton, or it was a deep post route. And Stevenson's just trailing him like he's supposed to in coverage. And if it's a more accurate throw from the quarterback, it's not an interception. Wright's not giving you bad coverage, but it wasn't great coverage that forced the interception. It was the pass is behind the receiver, and the cornerback also happened to be behind the receiver. Cornerback still has to be there in the right place, has to make the catch, absolutely, but also wouldn't have the opportunity to make that catch if not for the quarterback throwing that ball inaccurately. It was the same thing we saw on Stevenson's interception against Geno Smith. Those are two very similar picks that I see are kind of in this 50-50 category of quarterback gave you the opportunity, you had to take advantage of that opportunity. Whereas Kevin Byard's two picks against the Raiders, those are almost 100% player takes an opportunity that the quarterback didn't really gift you. You just made sure you went out and got it for yourself there. I think the one that I've had the hardest time sort of categorizing is the Washington interception where Jaden Daniels threw it to Brisker in the red zone where Brisker kind of stepped in front of it. It's hard for me to tell what Jaden Daniels was seeing there and how much of that is Brisker breaking from what he was supposed to do versus him being exactly where he needed to be. I tend to lean 50-50 there where Daniels did not see it correctly and tried to force a throw into to Curtis Samuel, I think was the receiver there. And then Brisker also read it really well, stepped in front of it, and made a nice play. It's probably a little bit more in that 50-50 category. And then the last two against the Saints, I'll wrap up quick before we kind of look bigger picture at this. The last two against the Saints were more gift wrapped for me. Spencer Rattler throws that deep one down the left sideline, overthrows, I think it was Rashid Shaheed, and lands right in Kevin Byard's hands. It's not right in Kevin, Byard still had to track it down a little bit, but that's just playing right field or left field, I guess, depending on which perspective you're looking at. Yeah, you're playing outfielder and it's a fly ball and you get under it with your glove. The outfielder still has to get in the right position to catch it, but it wasn't a difficult play for Byard to come over and make an interception there. It kind of came right to him. And then the last one against Spencer Rattler, he gets under pressure. He's forcing a throw to his right, gets tipped up, and another one tipped up and lands in Tremaine Edmonds' hands for another interception. So Edmonds has had two of those pretty lucky plays where someone else put the ball in the air and he just had to run underneath it and catch it. And sure, you got to be in the right place to make that play, but it didn't require elite defensive vision, instincts, or reaction time. It was just do your job, and here's an interception handed to you right into your hands. So as we went through these categorizations, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Bears' 11 interceptions to me felt kind of lucky, where it's just a really either unlucky play for the offense or just such a horrible throw from the quarterback that the defense didn't do anything. These are unforced turnovers is kind of how I would say 4 of the 11 were unforced turnovers. I think 2 of the 11 were Kevin Byard making a great individual play and just generating a turnover almost single-handedly by himself. And then that leaves the other 5 interceptions are kind of 50-50 where the quarterback gets you halfway there, and then you got to take the other halfway parts of what the quarterback's doing. So I think that's generally a pretty good sign of hey, this isn't all just pure luck, but it's also not all just pure playmaking either. So I want to take a look at what this means then. Do we project this out forward and what feels sustainable there, what doesn't, and maybe what some of the bigger factors are that are leading to these interceptions that we can look towards in the future? Next on Locked On Bears.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Locked On Bears is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss, because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, not only are you getting the winnings from that $5 bet, but you're also going to get an extra $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. So say you want to put $5 down on this Bears-Ravens game, where right now, as I'm speaking to you on FanDuel, the betting line is Bears plus 6.5 as road underdogs. If you want to bet the Bears to win straight up, you'll get plus 265 on the money line, and the over-under is set at 50.5 points. So a $5 bet on any of those, or any other game, any prop bet, any other sport. And if you win, you're getting $300 more to use wherever you want across FanDuel. It just makes the games even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. So these Bears interceptions have been a mix of a lot of different things, right? It hasn't just been batted passes tipped up at the line of scrimmage and picked off, right? It hasn't just been horrible overthrows from opposing quarterbacks. Like, it's been a little bit of everything, which I think is an important factor here, right? If it would feel more lucky if it was all just the same thing keeps happening. They just keep jumping these routes by being aggressive. And it's like, well, eventually some team is going to burn you on that, and that thing isn't sustainable. Like, there's so many different ways, whether it's right on a blitz, jumping down a pick six against J.J. McCarthy, whether it's the tipped pass that's caught by Tremaine Edmonds, or whether it's cornerbacks being right there on throws that are behind those receivers downfield. Like, they've had a couple of pairs of like a couple of tip passes, a couple of behinds, a couple of nice Kevin Byard plays, but otherwise it's a very diverse portfolio, like investing here, right? Where if you're not reliant on one of these categories of turnovers to continue. So if one stops, you've still got other areas where you are generally getting turnovers. But I think there's a couple other trends with these turnovers that I think are worth noting as we think about how much they can continue to do this moving forward, and when might the turnover luck, quote unquote, start to run out. I think first of all, worth noting, the Bears are not running nearly as much man coverage as you might think they are. For all the talk there's been about Dennis Allen making this a physical press man coverage defense, they're definitely pressing more and closer to the line of scrimmage, but they're still running zones on 60-70% of their plays. Against Spencer Rattler, they ran almost no man coverage at all. They just said, oh, young quarterback that's going to make mistakes, we'll just sit in zone and absolutely enjoy this. And so I think there's an aspect of this where they are then therefore like seeing the field well and attacking, right? Eyes on the quarterback, as opposed to just like shut down man coverage where, you're either blanketing the coverage so much that the quarterback doesn't even attempt the ball, or if they're getting interceptions in man coverage, usually it's like contested catch at the catch point, not like a jump ball necessarily, but essentially 50-50 balls in some ways where you're just out physicaling them, and like that doesn't always feel in the same sort of way as sustainable. But the fact that guys are seeing the field well and being able to attack aggressive and reading quarterbacks well, like that's more like a sustainable skill that can kind of come from a little bit of everywhere. I think it's also worth noting, out of the 11 interceptions, 7 of them have come on plays when the quarterback is not under pressure. So it's not as though all of these interceptions have required quarterback under duress, flushed out of the pocket, trying to make something happen. Like the Bears have been able to do this without having elite pass rush at all times. We think about sometimes the pressure is what forces the turnovers, and that has been the case. 4 of the Bears' interceptions came while the quarterback was pressured, including both of those Kevin Byard interceptions we talk about where he's able to undercut a route because I think Geno's feeling the pressure, has to try and force something in there. Also, when Spencer Rattler overthrew Shaheed down the right sideline, that one was under pressure. And then the Dak Prescott red zone interception where he underthrew Tolbert on the crossing route, that one was also under pressure. But the rest of them have been, quarterback relatively clean pocket, stepping in there and just trying to make a throw, trying to miss a throw. And I think on the one hand, you could say, is it less sustainable when you're not reliant on the pressure? Because those then are just more self-inflicted errors by a quarterback missing a throw, not because he was under pressure, but just because he was inaccurate on a play. On the other hand, you feel like, well, if you get more pressure, you might be able to still generate more turnovers by getting the quarterback more duress. So I think there's some good fit. You can kind of see it both ways in that regard. But I think the factor I'm most interested in here is the quality of the quarterbacks. Think about who has and hasn't thrown these interceptions this season. Out of the Bears, 11 interceptions this season, 3 of them are by Spencer Rattler, 3 of them are by Geno Smith, and then you've got 2 Dak Prescotts, and then 1 each of Joe Milton, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy. And I do think quarterback quality is probably one of the biggest factors here in all of the Bears turnovers. And I think when I start to project this out moving forward, the Bears certainly got an interception off Jaden Daniels, who hadn't thrown an interception all season. Like they can get interceptions off of good quarterbacks and off of quarterbacks that generally take care of the football. And they got 2 interceptions off Dak Prescott, who generally doesn't throw a lot of interceptions and hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions this season. They are capable of getting interceptions against any quarterback. But more of the inflation of their interceptions have come against bad quarterbacks like Rattler and like Geno Smith, who's been struggling a lot this season. And even to some extent, J.J. McCarthy, although it was only 1 in that game, certainly he wasn't and hasn't been playing great football when he's been out there so far this season. And so when I think about the sustainability of these interceptions in particular moving forward, I think the thing I'm going to look at the most is, well, who's the quarterback each week? Like if Lamar Jackson plays for the Ravens this week, that's probably more like a 1 interception type of game. It's worth noting the Bears did not get an interception on Jared Goff. Like the turnovers can dry up even if it's for a game at a time. I mean, like Derrick Henry's fumbled a lot this year uncharacteristically, so maybe the Bears get one of those on Henry and that's where you keep the turnovers coming. But Lamar Jackson might not give you a ball in harm's way. You might not have one of these slightly thrown behind a receiver that you can undercut or slightly overthrown a receiver that you can just step in and catch, or one of these tipped passes. Like that might not happen against a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, but it could happen against Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. It could happen against whoever the Vikings are starting at quarterback that week, whether it's Wentz or McCarthy when we get to that point. Maybe even Joe Flacco and the Bengals will put one into harm's way. Jordan Love, perhaps. Whoever the Browns are starting at quarterback. But like, I'm not sure that Jalen Hurts is going to give you a lot of interceptable balls. I'm not sure that Aaron Rodgers, even at this stage, is going to give you a lot of interceptable balls. And so I think that's the trend I'm going to be watching most closely. Is like, yeah, I think the Bears absolutely have skill here and a real talent. It's not just a knack and it's not just luck, but like an ability to force turnovers at a greater rate than other teams. I do think it's not purely just a luck situation. I do also think the mistakes by opposing quarterbacks have been a huge factor. And so the quarterbacks that make the most mistakes are going to be the ones that the Bears can get the most turnovers off of, that they can use that turnover skill the most against the inexperienced and lesser quarterbacks. And the veteran, more proven quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, etc., they're not, and even Jared Goff, I guess, again, in week 18, maybe you're not going to see as many turnovers for the Bears in that game. Like those are going to be the games where they don't have 3 and 4 turnovers, but you hope that somebody can rip out a forced fumble or that you can get a batted pass and get one of the more like the lucky interceptions come against those type of quarterbacks a little bit more. And maybe the skill interceptions come a little bit more against the bad quarterbacks. And that's what I'm going to be watching very closely with this Bears defense moving forward. I hope this turnover breakdown taught you a little something or learned a little something about football. Shout out to our friends at True Media for some of the visuals and the graphics for for some of these play concepts that the Bears had run through. Really cool stuff that we can do with advanced data nowadays. But we're going to get an even deeper dive on this Baltimore Ravens matchup in particular on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Bears. It's Crossover Thursday. We're going to talk to Kevin Ostreicher from Locked On Ravens to get the latest on what's going on with Baltimore and whether Lamar Jackson is or isn't going to play. So make sure you hit the subscribe button for Locked On Bears on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, because that's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're looking for a second listen today, now that we're finishing up Locked On Bears, go check out another Locked On Podcast Network podcast for your other favorite teams, whether they're Chicago sports team like Locked On Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Fighting Illini, or Northwestern, or you've got favorite teams in other cities. The best way to keep up with our local experts on your favorite teams is here through the Locked On Podcast Network. So go make one of those your second listen. Come on back tomorrow. Make Locked On Bears Crossover Thursday your first listen once again for another opportunity to bear down.